Good morning, everyone. Agitavach, Shavua Tov. I hope you had a lovely Shabbos, and thank you for joining us this morning. This morning is dedicated the learning in memory of all those whose Yortzeit falls today, and all those that are saying Kaddish. We wish everyone long life, and also we'd like to dedicate today's learning in as a schus for Refuah Shalema for Elizabeth Bat Maisha and Rivka Leah Bas Esther and Avram Ben Binyamin, amongst all the other sick members of the Jewish people. We wish them a refuah shalema. Good morning, all those that are still tuning in and joining us. It's beautiful. I think it's quite a nice winter morning. It's not too cold. It's fresh. Get out, get some exercise, go for a walk. I highly recommend it. Okay. So one of the fascinating stories that I heard recently relates to the House of Lords. You know, when they install a new lord, to the House of Lords, a new peer to the House of Lords, I should say. So there is a process that they go through. They are invited to be robed in the robing room by an officer, and then they are led and escorted from there into the House of Lords to be greeted by all the other peers in the House of Lords. Now, it happened that the first peerage of a rabbi was Lord Jacobovitz, and it was when they were putting this officer was putting the robes on Rabbi Lord Jacobovitz, who then was the chief rabbi of Great Britain and the Commonwealth, that they said to him, you are the first rabbi to be in the house, to receive this honor of being in the House of Lords. And Lord Jacobovitz, without missing a beat, shook his head, and he said to the officer, he says, "Look above your head. I'm the second." What was above his head, friends? Above his head was a mural in the robing room, which is called the Moses Chamber. And it's a mural of Moses coming down the mountain of Sinai, holding the 10 Commandments. And that, of course, segues into this week's parsha, the parsha which discusses about last week's parsha about Yisro and the giving of the Torah. And the question that's often asked is, why is it that the parsha is named Yisro? Why is it that Yisro's introduction and intervention in terms of the judicial system was the idyllic preface to the giving of the Torah? And the answer is that there is a real danger, as we're all aware, when we become part of something, an organization, become part of a body, become part of a nation, a community, that one can feel that, I'm just a cog in a huge machine, a huge wheel. I'm not really valued, I'm not appreciated. How often do we hear that when we work for an organization? I don't feel valued. I don't feel appreciated, right? I think we can all relate to that sentiment. And therefore, it was for that very reason that Yisro, who came from exceptionally far in terms, not just geographically, but in terms of his philosophy, his outlook. He was the high priest of Midian. He had tried every pagan practice, every deity in the world, and arrived after a lengthy, arduous journey at the conclusion that God is truth, and that all the other pagans and deities were worthless. Now, the idea of having that as the preface to the Torah of Yisro's intervention into the legal system was to underline the very fact, although the Jewish people now were becoming part of a nation, they were going to be part of the Jewish people, right? Up to that point, they'd been individuals and members of families. Now they would be part of a nation. Yet, at the very same time, God was pointing out to them that you should know like Yisro, who came from afar and made his own unique contribution, so each and every one of you, as members of the people, you're made unique. There are no two people in this planet that are exactly the same. We all have our own characteristics, our own qualities, our own attributes, and we're expected to make our own unique contribution. And one person's contribution is completely different to somebody else's. No two people were created the exact same, and therefore everyone has something to give, something to offer. And if everyone is represented in the Torah as a letter in the alphabet in the Torah, in other words, there are the exact number of letters in the Torah as the core souls that stood at Sinai, and therefore everyone, since we are all from those core souls of Sinai, we all have a unique mark, some unique contribution to our people, to our faith to give. And if we don't make it the same way, that letter in the Sefer Torah, if it is missing or rubbed out slightly, it means the whole Sefer Torah is invalid. So it is. Whenever we do not contribute, if we do not make our efforts, we don't give to our nation, to our people, to our community, there is something lacking from the whole. It's not going to be the same. There's going to be a void. It's going to be something which is irreplaceable. I think it's a phenomenal lesson and heartwarming message as we start a new week and we head into the Parsha of Mishpatim, which is all about Jewish prudence and many of the torts and negligence laws we find in this week's Parsha. And they all come from this week's Parsha. So if you look at English law, which I studied, you'll find many of it enshrined in this week's Parsha. It's fascinating that we were way ahead of our time. And therefore, there is an important lesson. Viscount Tony Pandy was the former Speaker of the House. And there's a famous story that I think it was his son. He told the story about his son, and he went to light the fire of this. He went to light the fire of this religious Jew who was living in Wales, living near them. And every time he went, the man afterwards wanted to repay him with a coin. And Viscount Tony Pandy was very upset. And he said, he rebuked his son, you don't take money when you are facilitating, enabling a man of faith to keep his faith. You don't do such a thing. And what happened next? Eventually there was this encounter, this dispute between the religious man and Viscount Tony Pandy. Viscount Tony Pandy wanted to return the money. He got very upset. He says, I refuse. It's an honor for us to light the fire of the Jews. And he turned to the Jewish man and he said to him, listen to this. He says, when our ancestors, our antecedents were still in caves trying to light a fire, you already had your golden temple. And therefore it is an honor for us to serve you. I think it's a phenomenal, heartwarming message. We don't appreciate enough what we are, who we are, and what we stand for. Perhaps that's something for us to think about and consider. Have a great week. Take care.